Good morning. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Join on in. Pop something in the comments. Let me know you're here because for whatever reason, these platforms are really bad about showing you who's here. So I have no idea if I'm just talking to myself, which I feel like half the time I probably am. But just pop yourself into the comment. Let me know you're here. Say hello. Give me a little wave. Not feeling the greatest today, but I'm going to do my best. I still showed up. I skipped last week, so I wanted to make sure I showed up today. Hopefully somebody jumps in with some juicy questions. I don't really have any conversation prepared. I mean, there are certainly some topics we can chat about. I have an interview of my own today, which is interesting. So I get to be the nervous, frustrated candidate on the other end of an interview today. Won't be frustrated. I'm not frustrated, but yeah. So I'm excited about that. It's a really interesting role with a company I really admire. So that's cool. Hey, Dan. Good morning from beautiful New Jersey. How is New Jersey? I miss New Jersey. I am joining from Henderson, Nevada, outside of Las Vegas, but I am a Jersey girl. So I miss home very often, especially pizza and bagels and Chinese food. But and green and grass and flowers and trees and plants, all that good stuff. I miss it all. So, anywho, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Join in. Come on in. Drop some questions in the comments. Also, I've got my QR code up here in the top left-hand corner to join the Rebel HR community. There's a free level of the community. It's a place where, hey Josh, a place where job seekers and recruiters can exchange information, or recruiters can answer questions, give guidance. I did it in response to so many pieces of misinformation out there and just so much confusion. So yeah, go ahead. Throw me a question. Josh, Dan, somebody give me a question. I need some questions. I'm not sure what to talk about today. I guess we could, there's so many things to talk about, right? A new Stanford study came out that everybody has spun to decide that it means that AI is actively discriminating. I don't think that's what the study actually said, but it is what it is. People interpret things how they interpret things. It's an interesting scenario. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can get rid of my sorry. I missed a setting before I hopped in. So whatever, it is what it is. This is definitely not my best live yet, but we will keep it pushing because I don't care enough to not. So, I don't care what I look like or if I missed a setting. So anywho, okay. Tell me something. Give me something. Josh, Dan, no questions? Okay, let's see. Let's talk about resume format for a few minutes. Let's talk about some of the rules that recruiters get on LinkedIn and share, right? So when a recruiter gets on and shares the 2-page rule, like resumes shouldn't be more than 1-2 pages tops. Anything beyond a second page won't get read. I'm here to tell you that's a personal preference and that many of us do not care. Genuinely just don't care. Like, your resume should be as long as it needs to be to reflect your relevant experience and skills. I think number of pages is a relic of the period of time when we used to pages mattered, because otherwise you end up with like a 6-page resume on linen, a staple through that thing. So I don't know why pages matter when we're in a world where we're scrolling down those pages on a screen. again, it just doesn't really make any sense to me at all, especially in a world where it seems recruiters are filtering resumes by keywords and various things. So if you're going looking for what you want to find on the resume, I don't really know how many pages it is would matter. But again, so I also say that aligns with all other resume format advice, right? So the people who say it has to be a Word document, or it has to be a PDF document, or it has to be this font or that font, or all of the guidance is fake guidance. It's just that person's preference, and someone gave them a mic or a platform or a LinkedIn profile. It doesn't mean anything, really. Those things are extremely arbitrary. In a hard market like this, in a tough job market, you do want to pay attention to those arbitrary things, because when talent is, flush and there's a glut of talent in the market, everything becomes a filter, because we have to find ways to filter. When talent's scarce, all those filters go away. So be aware of the arbitrary things and play to them as much as you can, but don't worry about resume formatting things. The only good resume formatting advice is graphs, charts, tables, boxes. Anything graphic doesn't parse well. It still comes through. We still get the attachment. We still see your resume, and you can fix the parsing, but just in the land of saving yourself extra time and frustration, no need for charts and boxes and tables on your resume. Okay. All right. You guys ask questions. Well, I wanted to get through my little rant about resumes, and apologies if you hear dogs in the background. Okay. We've got dogs in the background. All right. Have you ever seen someone successfully find feedback from a hiring manager or a recruiter from a failed interview? I'd like to know how I fell short. Have you ever seen someone successfully find feedback? Yeah. I mean, we sometimes now and again give feedback if there's usable feedback to give. So what do I mean by that? Most of the time, you got rejected because there were others who were just a little stronger in something or another than you. It's rarely ever the kind of hard objective feedback that is useful to you and that you should make changes based on. Like this. So say I'm hiring for a salesperson, and you have the right requirements and background, but maybe the other two candidates I'm interviewing sold directly into the same exact target companies that we are, right? You're like an adjacent company selling into the exact same type of companies. And maybe your background is similar, but maybe you're slightly different. Maybe you're calling into operations teams, and this company is calling into HR teams and selling an HR tool or whatever. That's the kind of thing that is only specific to that company. So Dan, if I give you feedback about why not us this role today now, there's nothing for you to apply, because in the very next interview you have, it may be the opposite. They want somebody selling into ops, not HR, right? So it's like hitting on 16 in blackjack. You stay fixed and trust that if you're very focused, very strategic, you have a niche job search strategy, like a top 20 companies list, whether they have job posts or not. See, just applying to what you see is a reactive job search. I want you to get proactive, right? Know which companies you want to go work for. Be intentional about it. Be as willing to walk away from an opportunity because you're looking for real alignment. When a candidate is looking for real alignment, they're not trying to bend themselves into a pretzel to be whatever that particular hiring manager or recruiter wants. That's not how it works, right? So if I am a high agency job searcher and I know what I want next, That means if I'm in an interview and this doesn't align, I'm willing to like, hey, this isn't really a great fit. Here's what's really important to me. That's okay too. I would say those are some signals of a high value candidate generally. Okay. So it's kind of flipping the perspective. So, Dan, no, like, yeah, you can get, if you want real feedback about you, how you show up, how you interview, let's get on a mock interview call and I'll interview you and give you real feedback because it'll be objective based on you and how you show up, not subjective based on a role I have to fill and specific solutions we're looking for or specific gaps. Oftentimes what we're looking for a particular candidate in a role has more to do with the existing team than anything else. Like only we know that we have a small gap in, experience in this area. Maybe the whole team has experience in all these things, but we're light in this one particular area. So obviously the next add to that team, we're going to be looking for somebody strong in that one particular area. That may not it be as reflected in a job description. It may be, you may not catch it. But again, that feedback wouldn't be usable, like actionable for you. Okay. So that's really the why we don't give feedback is, yeah, there's some like legal risks and stuff, but it's really two things. One, people argue with it. When we say we declined you because you're not as strong in XYZ as the other candidates, they start fighting about how strong they are in XYZ every time. It's just human nature, but I get it. And like, it doesn't make you bad. It's just, it becomes a low value discussion. And then the second thing is, it's rarely like something you should actually action on. Okay. So those are the reasons we don't give feedback, more so than anything else. So again, the best way to get real interview feedback is to do a mock interview with someone in your network, someone you trust, and let them give you feedback. And preferably somebody who interviews for a living. Either they're doing a lot of hiring as a hiring leader, or they're a recruiter, but somebody who really knows how to vet out and evaluate somebody via an interview. So that's my response on that. So yeah. All right, Josh, I had a recent conversation in which let me put this up here. I had a recent conversation in which I was told that when it comes to ATS and the job search, that if your resume wasn't showing that you are still employed at your most recent job, you would get kicked out of the hiring process. This information came from someone in your world, Lori. Okay, so a couple things. One, my world is very big. My world is full of millions of recruiters. Within those millions of recruiters, some people work for an agency, which means they have an entirely different set of incentives, mindsets, drivers, everything. Okay. Their whole entire perspective is different. Then there's internal corporate recruiters. Okay. If companies are setting, like, I would find it hard to believe that companies are setting a filter around not having a current role, right? Because that would filter out so many potentially great candidates. Perhaps I was laid off 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really necessarily think that makes any sense. Obviously, if you can show that you are still employed, that's great. But no, what do you mean? None of this statement makes sense to me. You would get kicked out of the hiring process. So you could get rejected. So here's the reality. I think I said this a few minutes ago. When there's a lot of talent in the market, a lot of arbitrary things become filters because we still have to get from 50 qualified people down to the 10 or so we're going to talk to, right? We can't talk to every single qualified person. So once you've already met minimum qualifications, what else now can we start filtering by? So maybe sometimes companies will filter. Some hiring managers have bias around hiring unemployed people. It's nonsense. It's absurd. It makes no sense, especially in this market. It comes from a lot of different things in the past that no longer make sense today. when a company is laying off 10,000 employees, like that's a lot of people. There's no, there's no real way that 10,000 employees were low producers. Like that's not realistic. So there's no reason to assume unemployment is some kind of like proxy for quality. It's not. But again, when talent is flush and we have too many applicants, we do have to start filtering down. So here are some of the arbitrary filters that companies use. I personally don't, but I understand some do. So a gap in your career history, imperfect career trajectory. By the way, the reason I don't use any of these because they all exist in my particular background, right? I counter that balance in my own mind. Like, I think I'm a good candidate and I have a gap and I don't have a perfect trajectory. I have a leadership role, then an individual contributor role, then a management role, then a contract recruiter role, because title never mattered. I'm low ego. See, those are all, I think, positive traits. Also, I tend to spend a lot of time in startups, and in startups, you go through the build phase and then there's the button up phase. And like, I'm less good in the button up phase. I'm good at the build phase. And so I leave usually in the button up phase, right? So unclean trajectory, like what I'm really good at isn't climbing 14 roles in one company. Like it doesn't align for me. So again, a lot of these arbitrary biases are just that, but you should be aware of them so that you can play to them as much as you can and navigate, a world where these things exist. So what are some more? Maybe this is where pedigree and what school you went to comes in, or which companies you worked for. Did you work for great logos or whatever that means? So those are some of the arbitrary types of things that tend to come up when there's just a lot of qualified talent. So the answer indirectly is, no, but you could do an A/B test for yourself, have one resume that has something there. Now, what does something there look like if you're actually not working? Something there when you're not working can look like a couple different things. One, you can throw in a volunteer thing you're doing. If you're not doing any kind of volunteering or taking a course or anything, do that. Like job search takes time, but it doesn't take all your time. And showing that you're staying sharp and that you're on your game. Josh, take an AI class for construction. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, get focused on where your industry is going. Be ahead of the game. Just because you're unemployed doesn't mean you can't be like on your game, show up at conferences. In fact, Josh, networking at builder conferences is probably going to be your best bet in this kind of market, right? Because just applying to jobs is like you're voluntarily sending, and I'm not saying don't apply. Obviously, we're still applying for jobs. It's just that can't be the full total strategy, right? You're basically voluntarily sending your resume into several black holes. Will you get some traction? Probably, maybe. But there should be a lot more intentionality and strategy behind it, right? So if you apply for a role and you really want that role, then go engage with people in the company on LinkedIn, go comment on their posts, go share their posts, go ask them questions, like, be visible to them. So the interview I got today, and I have been getting incredibly little traction in my own search. The interview I got today was a result of reaching out to somebody that I was connected to on LinkedIn. And I was like, look, I'm really interested in this role. I understand that, if I just apply blindly, that I'm not likely to, be considered really. So, and I don't know if me reaching out did help get the interview or not, but either way, it's a good idea and it worked. So, yeah. All right. What else? 6+ months. Being proactive and adjusting scope. I know. It's a really, okay, really hear this. Even when you're doing everything right, it's a really tough competitive market. It's why I want people to take off their job seeker hat and put on like a product marketing hat and think of like, what is your biggest value add and where is it most in demand right now? Play strategy with yourself in your job search. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. Also, in the meantime, what a lot of us are doing, as well, sorry. So sorry. Phone. Another thing we're all doing is keeping very busy. Sorry. Apologies. We're doing other things. We're trying to, so like even without a regular paycheck for a full-time role. So sorry, my computer is doing all kinds of crazy stuff right now. Even without a full-time role, you can cobble together other little forms of income, do some little consulting work, whatever work you're used to doing, you can find, freelance or consulting or contracting. We are sort of shifting into more of a gig economy. So there's a lot of those kinds of opportunities out there as well. And it's okay to take a stopgap job. Like I would go bake Insomnia cookies for $20 an hour if I needed to while I continued to work. I say Insomnia cookies because they are hiring literally everywhere at $20 an hour, and they have so many positions open that your chances of actually getting in there, being considered are pretty high. All right, Andrew, let's see what you got to say. Relocation. I understand why companies are reluctant to consider out-of-area candidates, but many of us will need to move to get another job but can't afford to without an offer. So what's the strategy there? That's a really good question. The strategy is to make that clear. Make it clear on your resume. So like in the location section, you might want to you might want to be intentional. Like I am specifically looking to move back to New York City. I am specifically looking to move to San Francisco. If it's like, I'll move anywhere for a job, that's a little riskier because there's a good chance that like, from the hiring side, just bear with me, okay? Just consider this, alt perspective. From the hiring side, we have a boatload of candidates. Many are already in the location we want them to begin with, okay? If you're like, I'll move anywhere, I'll move to Alaska for a job, like the chances you move, hate it, don't acclimate, want to leave, or are there but hate it and it's reflecting in your work, like whatever, it's just a higher risk scenario. Then if you're saying, I'm moving to New York, my goal is to move back to New York, right? That's where I came from. In my situation, that would be like, I'm moving back to New York. And so, yeah, so if you're already doing it, right? Like this is a choice I've made. I've chosen to move to any one of these 2 or 3 markets. It's a different level, or it's perceived as a different kind of risk because you're basically saying this is something I want to do, right? And that even you'd be willing to do it, without a relocation stipend or anything like, that. So that can be reflected on the resume itself. Of course, in the knockout questions, it's much harder because knockout questions are like, are you in San Francisco? So you either lie and say yes, and then try to get a note somewhere in a cover letter or whatever. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So like, it's all about how you communicate it. It's all about how you strategize it. And then of course there's always too, and the try to move to the market that you think has the most opportunity in it. And like, I can't afford to do it without an offer. I hear that. This is where like, do you know someone in that market? Can you couch surf until you get a job? Like what's possible, right? Getting into that market does make you a lower risk, more attractive candidate. Again, for all the reasons, right? When there's a glut of talent, like there's going to be people in that market already. So the idea of taking the risk of relocating someone doesn't seem as appealing or appetizing. But in a talent scarce market, like we're relocating everywhere. We post jobs purposely in locations. Say I have a job in LA, and I know there's a lot of people always moving from, I don't know, I don't know where people move to LA from. So maybe the opposite. Maybe we have a job in Texas and we see that there's a ton of people coming from Southern California to Texas. So maybe we would post the job specifically in the Southern California market for a role in Texas. These are tactics we used when talent was scarce. But of course, now we're in the totally opposite flipped market. So I say you do the best you can with communication. This is one of the few scenarios where a cover letter actually does make sense because you're explaining what you're doing, what you're wanting to do, what your goal is, right? And you're explaining why you're applying to a job in a market that you're not in, that kind of thing. So, and of course, there are still remote roles out there. I wanted to also, I wanted to endorse this company. I'm putting it um, in the comments. I don't know if you can see it, but it's roll.com. What I like about roll.com is that it only posts jobs that are validated on the company career page. No duplicates, no ghost jobs, no nonsense, just jobs that are confirmed on company sites. Okay. Also, if they've been reposted for too long, they won't include it. So it's basically a cleaned up version of LinkedIn and Indeed, which are both utter shit shows at this point. So I hope that helps. You should all go check it out. What else? Did that help you, Andrew, at all? Be communicative on the top of your resume where you put your current location. Put like I would put Henderson, Nevada or Las Vegas, Nevada, relocating to New York City ASAP. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Make sure that it includes you include your story. You include the why. You include I have family in New York or I've always lived in New York. I left during COVID to go live in the woods and I hate it and I miss New York. Whatever. Whatever it is, there is a place for humanness. It's just everyone wants to put it in the wrong, right? You in the wrong place or the wrong time. And humanness is more around explaining your outlierness, right? That's where humans serve a purpose. AI may not understand the nuance of you and your story, but that's where your humanness actually stands out. So yeah. And it won't work everywhere because I do see that a lot of companies are hiring like they're like it's an assembly line at this point, like very little thought, very little, you know, very little interest and connection. So, oh, Nathan, absolutely. I hope that's helpful. And I'm, happy to help more if I can. Yeah, Andrew, we're gonna have to try a lot of things with you. I know how much you've already tried to this point. One thing we have never actually gotten on a call, so maybe I could be useful there. I don't know. But I do a lot of pro bono coaching calls, just like I do this. Like these are things I do to give back. Even when I'm in my own job search, like these are things I do to give back. You know what's the best way to solve your own problem? Help someone solve theirs. I know that sounds absolutely cliche, maybe a little Pollyanna, optimistic, hoo ha, but I promise you, in my life, over and over and over again, in my darkest times, in my hardest crap, when I got out of my hard crap and into helping someone with their hard crap, my opportunities opened or my perspective shifted around my own hard crap, right? Like, it's whatever you're focusing on is what you're going to have a whole lot more of. So the moment I get out of my problems and get into solving others, miraculously, solutions to my own problems present themselves or bubble up. It's like a really cool thing that I've found in my life. Randy, how are you? Roll.com, ROLE.com. Hey, let me throw it up here. I know how to do this. I'm talented at this thing now. Hold on. Let's see. Create a banner, www.roll.com. Add banner, scroll across ticker, and show. Look at that. Anyway, okay. So while I'm entertained with my big skills on StreamYard here, go check out roll.com. It's really like, there are a lot of job boards out there, but there's the two big ones. LinkedIn and Indeed have, like, I don't know, 80% of like the entire job board market share, which is hysterical because Indeed is, it's even becoming more a zoo. I saw an article today about, they've always been more of a candidate first, people first platform. They made decisions based on the benefit of the candidate in mind. And they always had this orange chair in the room, which represented the candidate always in the room. And apparently the orange chair is no longer in the room, and they're doing all kinds of things around sponsored jobs, where you really won't see unsponsored jobs. So only the companies paying to sponsor. It's just a lot going on. So what I like about roll.com is they've reduced the noise tremendously. And by the way, they're not sponsoring this or anything. I just really like it. Something to know about me, even if I do a partnership, like sponsored post, like you'll see a post from me tomorrow around round one. I still won't do it for money unless I actually like the product. I know that that's hard to believe in 2026, but I won't take one penny for anything that I wouldn't endorse for free. That's just, you got to draw the line somewhere. You have to have like a principal value line in the sand somewhere. And that's mine. Otherwise, I could just take money for anything, promote anything, even if I think it's terrible. And then, of course, my reputation and my word means zip after that. So I'm never going to do that. So just so you know that. So yeah, roll.com is just something I'm really excited about. I'm excited about a job board that could help, that could offer something just more effective for job seekers. Again, there's so much noise, so much frustration. You should see jobs by when they were actually posted, how active they are, not who's paid the most money. Some of the best companies out there hiring aren't the ones that you see the most. I know that's shocking, but yeah. So definitely check out roll.com and let me know what you think. Thanks, Andrew. I hope so, because Andrew, as you see out there, not everybody appreciates it at all. I get dragged quite a bit, because whatever, people fight with me about the statements I make about AI. I get that it's easier to believe that a bad tech is accidentally rejecting you, than a person is looking at you and saying no. But you should assume a person is like, stop. The idea that you should be optimizing your resume for bots is just fundamentally backwards, completely. I do understand algorithms and the sorting and ranking process, but like, I don't know a lot of recruiters that actually give a lot of credence to the sorting and ranking inside of their ATS, right? Maybe up to a certain point, right? Like maybe I'm not checking the 7% match because there's a really good chance that there's a lot missing there for them to be a 7% match. But that doesn't mean I'm not looking at the 70% match, right? So if you're somewhat aligned to the role, I'm going to be looking at your resume. So don't write for a bot, write for me. Like I said, hey Lee, the only thing that, like I said, around resume formatting that is, maybe makes sense across the board is there's no reason for tables, graphics. None of that is necessary. It will make it harder to parse. It won't keep you out of our ATS. Nothing keeps you out of the ATS. Let's get clear real quick on that. Like everyone who applies, whatever you upload as your resume will be visible to us if we open it. Okay. Whether it parses, doesn't parses wrong, we still can open the attachment that is your resume. I've had people, so this is how little resume formatting actually matters. I've had people upload tax returns, divorce documents. I've had people upload, their favorite Chinese restaurant menu. I had all kinds of stuff over the course of my career get uploaded as a resume. But it's visible, right? It gets to us. There is no filter at the front end of the ATS that keeps you from getting in. So like the terminology I hear on LinkedIn is telling. People say things like, it'll help you get through the ATS. There is no through, there's in, right? Like ATS is a digital file cabinet with some bells and whistles and features and, filtering things. But for the most part, everyone gets in, right? There's nothing to get through, there's nothing to pass. There's simply just applying. And even a year after the job closes and everyone's been rejected off of it, I can still go back to that job and pull up your resume and see your application. So I want you guys, when you hear this stuff out there, to use your, thinking cap and go like, yeah, this person objectively doesn't know what they're talking about if they're using terms like get through the ATS. They don't know how an ATS works, because everyone in the world who works with an ATS doesn't say get through the ATS, because that doesn't make any sense at all. It's not a thing to get through. It's a thing that collects applications, and it has a workflow piece so we can move people through the interview process, like a project management tool, if you will, or like a workflow tool. That's it. So, and ask any other recruiter. Lee is here on the call. I don't know if she's still there, but like she'll tell you, everyone gets in. Okay. There's no velvet rope at the front of the ATS. Everybody makes it in. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, let's see. I personally try to reach out to hiring managers anyway to try to avoid the black hole. You should. But honestly, I understand that job seekers are frustrated, tired, it's exhausting, it's a lengthy process when you're applying to thousands of jobs. That's why I think people who get targeted have better results. I believe the law of diminishing returns applies to applying for jobs. You can almost feel it when somebody is just throwing spaghetti against a wall to see if any of it sticks, as opposed to somebody being intentional. You are on my top 20 list of companies I want to work for, and here's why. Right? You can hear it when people on LinkedIn laugh about the question. This is a really good one, okay? People laugh about the question and they make jokes about it. Why do you want to work here? When I ask you, why do you want to work here? I'm saying, why do you want to work for the Rebel HR? I'm not asking you, why do you work? Okay, so when people are like, ha ha, duh, bills, as though recruiters are dumb for asking why you want to work here, please understand, I'm not asking you, why do you work? You work for the same reason everyone works, and it's a given, and we don't have to talk about it. Like, because you have bills is not an answer to why you want to work at the Rebel HR versus this company, that company, or that company. So if your strategy is, I just need anything, that's not going to land. I get it may be true. It'll land more in like the retail service industry, like the stopgap jobs. But if you're applying to a white collar laptop class job, why you want to work there is a real question. And again, they're not saying, why do you work? We know why you work. You work for the same reason the recruiter is working. We all have bills, right? But what is interesting about that company? And if you can't, like, if nothing is interesting about the company or the job, you can probably not bother applying, because you probably won't get the interview. Like, there has to be more than I just need any job, right? But why this company? Why this role? And I understand that when you actually do just need any job, answering that feels almost like a slap in the face if you choose to see it that way. But you have to understand from their perspective, they want somebody who actually is excited. I want somebody who's excited to join the Rebel HR for a reason, a real one. Okay. And if you think that 100% of people feel the way you do, duh, because I have bills, you're wrong. I can absolutely find somebody who will take the time to go find out what I do and find reasons that it aligns for them. So think of it like that. Okay. Let's see. And Andrew, yeah, just keep reaching out to people, but that's a lot easier to do. It's easier to network well when you have a smaller list of companies you want to work for, because then you can consistently engage. If these are your top 20 companies, whether they have an open role or you're in sales, any company is going to hire someone they believe to be a game-changing salesperson. So that's how you have to show up and present yourself. But I know, Andrew, because you and I have been interacting up here for years now, it feels like, that you're frustrated as hell and that your verve about why you're great is waning. And like, you got to come back with it, right? You got to get back there. Okay. I know how hard it is when you're feeling defeated. That's why mindset happens to be one of the biggest, and Lee, correct me if I'm wrong here, but mindset seems to be the biggest differentiator in today's job market. Less skills, experience, all the skills, the experience, the requirements, all that will get you to the conversation. Once you're at the conversation, mindset is the differentiator. That's what I'm seeing. People are showing up to interviews in a very apathetic way, or so eager because if they don't land every single job they interview for, they, in their mind, they're going to be destroyed financially, which I completely understand the frustration, the stress of that pressure. But yeah, mindset, you got to, and it's so hard to do, right? The longer your search goes on, the more your mindset is impacted. It's just so hard. It's such a hard thing. I know, because I'm living it too. So let's see. It's 100% a guest player or the show. Oh, that's not for me. Okay. The only way you avoid an ATS is if you make a personal connection with people in a department for a warm lead and person to advocate. Even if you do that, Nathan, they're still probably going to make you apply and be in the ATS. Nobody can get interviewed if you're not in the ATS. If we set all our interviews up in the ATS, so like, say, Nathan, I'm setting you up with the hiring manager. On the other side in the ATS, the hiring manager sees your resume. There's a scorecard. There's questions for that stage of the interview. This is in an established frameworked interview process. Yeah. So you can't not be in the ATS. You can definitely circumvent the ATS originally. Your best scenario is if you reach out to somebody in your network and you're like, I see this role posted. It's perfect for me. And it's somebody that you actually know and have worked with. Can you refer me, or should I go ahead and apply first? That's the best reach out ever. Because if they get a $5,000 bonus, if their referral makes it in, they're going to want to do it themselves, right? So they either send you a link so that you'll be applying in their, through their referral link, like we all have links in certain ATSs, or they'll tell you to apply and do a certain thing and mention their name in a certain space, or they will enter you into the ATS themselves, depending on their process. So it is a great idea to reach out. It's a really great idea to be like, hey, I see this role. Hey, here's why I'm well aligned. Would you refer me? Do you have a referral bonus program, or should I apply myself? I don't want to send my resume into another black hole, that kind of thing. Where'd I go? Oh, anyone employed is getting hit up by everybody unemployed in their networks for help and referrals and stuff. So certainly also make sure you actually have worked with them. I don't know many people in a market like this that are going to refer somebody they don't have any experience working with. Just being connected on LinkedIn isn't really a referral basis, right? Okay. Yep. Like Leah said, ATS is a talent acquisition CRM. Yep. All right, let's see. Doom. Good. Yeah. So you guys are, and that's great. This is what I wanted to set up with the Rebel HR. Informal, super casual, anything goes, anything can be talked about. But also, there are other recruiters as well here to share, to validate what I'm saying or share a different spin on what I'm saying. Maybe it's different in their organization, but there are certain things that are pretty much like across the board we're well aligned, most recruiters. So, yeah, this is really exciting. So if you haven't already joined the Rebel HR community, and this goes for recruiters alike, Lee, join us in there, because I haven't asked me anything, you know, um, page in there, and anyone can ask anything. And it's a nice mix in there of veteran recruiters and frustrated job seekers who want real high value information and guidance, who are tired of the grifters and the nonsense guidance that's coming. Gizmo, sorry, dog issues. I'll take you outside. Yeah, so definitely join us up here. The QR code, you can just pop that onto your phone, join the Rebel HR community. It is a free to join. There are paid layers to keep supporting it because, like bills, duh. But it isn't, it's designed to offer, free guidance for job seekers who need it. So join us. All right, we've got a few more minutes left. Who has another question? I'm trying to see the conversation going on here with Lee and Nathan. I'm looking to find the pain problem. Yeah. I haven't seen, so there was a world where we, especially in my world in the startups, where we would create roles for people because they were just so awesome. We had to figure out a place for them to fit. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while, in a long time. It's been a minute. So, people can't even get interviews for jobs they're actually, qualified for, let alone have roles created for them. Again, too, that's going to be a very specific type of person. That's going to be the most exceptional. I hate that word, but it's going to be the most exceptional candidate that there is. All the right companies, all the right schools, the perfect growth trajectory. Oh, here's a new one. Lee, I don't know if you've seen this one yet, but companies are wanting fast track leadership progression early in their career. It's a signal. If you make it to a director level in 5 to 7 years of, your first 5 years of your career, it's assumed you must be spectacular, exceptional, better than everybody else. And I'm like, wow. In fact, I posted yesterday a VP of talent acquisition role, which you would think that, somebody like me with 20 plus years experience would be ideal for that level of role. I've been in the director level. I've had a VP level role, perfectly aligned for it. I look at the job description and it's asking for 3 to 5 years of experience for a VP role, overseeing a whole talent acquisition function. So stuff's going on out here. Don't know what's going on out here, but apparently that 3 to 5 years of fast-tracked leadership experience is a signal. For me, it's a signal of nepotism. It's a signal of so many other things that I don't even know what to say. It certainly does disparately impact anyone who had kids young, anybody who wasn't able to make that choice, that fast-track leadership, path early in their career. So I don't like it, but I'm seeing it. So I think, again, you all need to be aware of what's going on. It's really funny. I'm seeing like 1 to 3 years of experience for entry level and then 3 to 5 for VP level. And I'm going, something's amiss. I don't know what's amiss, but it feels like the market, the entire job market is contracting into this 5 to 7 year, 5 to 10 year, 3 to 10 year person, leaving out everyone right out of college and anyone who's been doing this for 15 plus years. It's like a contraction from the outliers in, right? I feel like we're filtering in. And I say this as a very generalized statement. I may not be, Lee may not be, but I feel like as an industry, as a hiring landscape, we are contracting jobs and filtering in for the least risky, average, middle people. That's what it feels like. So I don't know. Okay, let's see. Josh said, as Lori knows, I come from a unique industry that's very cyclical. So when it comes to the gaps, how do I get around this when applying for jobs? I'm assuming that is where the cover letter will come. Yeah, cover letter comes into play, but also you're applying within the industry that is aware of the cyclical nature of it. So, you should be communicating with people who understand kind of some of those ebbs and flows in the building world. But like I said, this is why I think it's important for you. You've always been more in a small company, mom and pop type, small business in the building world. Go for those larger corporations now so that even when there's less ebbing and flowing in a large company, okay? Right? Or small company, you lose, this job is over, you lose this job, and boom, now you have to cut staff. In a large company, there's enough projects always happening that absorbs some of the ebb and the flow of the cyclical nature. So, yeah, that's the target that I think that you should go for. And yeah, in the cover letter, you can explain away gap somewhat. I also put, like if I was laid off, seasonal layoff, or anything like that. I mean, I don't have that specifically, but you can also put that in your resume, right? So XYZ builder, you know, and then in parentheses next to it, laid off, due to market downturn, layoff due to, low project demand, whatever. Right. So you can even incorporate that right there in the resume if you want to, if you think that that's going to be a major issue. But again, in your industry, it may not be as much of an issue as you think it is. This is where you networking with somebody in your network. This is why you talking to somebody who's like a higher level leader within the building world, not necessarily looking for a job from that person, but just somebody that you can kind of bounce some of the stuff off of and be like a sounding board for you, because they're going to know more specifically than I do what's going on in the building world. I mean, I touched on that a long time ago, but very little. I could answer pretty much anything in the tech sphere, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of the things I say translate into every industry. They don't. Always listen to veteran recruiters, like as a generalization. Within the always listen to, veteran recruiters, try to listen to veteran recruiters that live in your space, in your world. Also, if your choice is between listening to an agency recruit, I mean, some agency recruiters are incredible. And I mean, I've talked to agency recruiters, I've been an agency recruiter that are consultants. They're great. They're equally good with candidates as they are with their clients. But as an agency recruiter, you only have so much visibility and so much exposure to the conversations that happen in the room after interviews and all that. You only get like the packaged answer back, but you don't listen to all of what went into making those decisions. So if you have the choice, not only listen to a veteran recruiter, but listen to a veteran recruiter that comes out of your world and works for a company in that landscape. Okay. A corporate recruiter in your industry. For example, Amy Miller worked at Amazon for years. And now she's been in the space world. She went to another company, a new company, Portal Space. She is somebody I would talk to if my goal was to get into the space world or, whatever that's all about. She knows a lot about it. She can also probably speak to the broader big tech landscape because Amazon operates as a big tech company. But she worked at a small startup within a big tech company. So she has an interesting perspective. I can tell you a lot about tech startups. I do know some stuff about the broader tech world, the broader big tech landscape, but most of my experience is most relevant for people looking for startup jobs. I can also tell you that I am being aged out of that startup world too. So, take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, try to listen to the people. So veteran recruiters first. Second, veteran recruiters that are corporate, not agency. Third, veteran recruiters who are corporate and in your particular industry. perfect. Find those people, find the ones that, like me, post a lot of content, have opinions, share them, question things when things should be questioned, argue to hell with people in the comments. Find someone like me in your world and follow them and engage with them, because you're going to learn a lot from that individual, because their perspective is precise to what you need. Okay. Josh, for you, I'm going to see if I can scour my network to find somebody better than me, but that's like me. Okay. Yeah. So, anywho, I really appreciate, sorry, my dogs are going ape shit and now I have someone at the door. So I appreciate everybody joining. I have to go. But yeah, so thank you so much. Oh, cool, Dan. But join in the Rebel HR community, and yeah, we'll connect. And you can ask me more stuff in there anytime. Sorry about the dogs. Talk to you guys next week, next Wednesday. See you then.